Just about now, the time is 4 o'clock here in the nation's capital. And we have with us Miss Chanel. She's originally out of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. She's located in Montreal. She's the winner of the CBC Short Story Competition. I just want to get her to introduce herself to us. And then also this evening, Mr. Moulton will take things over. Welcome, Chanel. Welcome to Vincy Internet Radio.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. It's Chanel Sutherland, by the way. Sutherland.
Sutherland, yeah.
Yeah, so it's good to be here. Thank you so much for having me and for inviting me. I'm excited. Sure. So I'm from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I grew up in Carroll Village, but moved there when I was about 10 years old to live with my mom. And now I'm living in beautiful Montreal. Yeah, and I'm the winner of the CBC 2021 Nonfiction Prize for my short story Umbrella. And I guess that's what this interview is going to be focusing on.
All right. Hey, Chanel, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad. Welcome to Vincy Internet Radio. Welcome to our program, Strictly Vincy. And I just want to welcome all our viewers, listeners around the world and in Radio Land. Again, I just want to start with say congratulations on winning your awards for the Umbrella.
Yeah, it's a short story, but thank you so much.
Yeah, you're making us proud. And again, yeah, so I just would like to like briefly walk us through your writing history of how you came to coming up with that short story.
Well, so I've always wanted to be a writer since I was a little girl. Even growing up in Carroll, my grandmother is an amazing storyteller. In our small village, we didn't have access to a lot of toys and so on, so she had to get creative in how she kept us entertained. So she was an extraordinary woman and an amazing storyteller. And from that, I always knew I wanted to be a storyteller like her. But it was later on when I came to Canada and I was in high school that an English teacher of mine at the time, she handed me the novel by Maya Angelou, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. And after reading that novel and just being able to identify with so much of Maya's story, sorry, I should say Mrs. Angelou's story, not Maya, I knew immediately that I wanted to write stories. And I think that's where it started for me. That was the spark that made me realize that writing is the thing I wanted to do with my life. So yeah, I've been writing ever since. This is the first time I've actually won anything for my writing and have published anything as a result. You know, like life happened. I went to university, I got a full-time job, but I'm hoping with this prize that I can start my writing journey and maybe go into it more professionally starting now. So yeah.
Oh, that's unique. It's unique in a way, but I like the fact. So let me ask you this before: are all your stories non-fictional, or you do some like creative ones?
I do fiction as well. This is the second nonfiction story I've ever written, Umbrella. And I wrote it during 2020, which was the year of like George Floyd, the pandemic lockdown, Black Lives Matter. So, you know, the story itself deals with some of those, my own experience, because it is nonfiction. So it's based on something that actually happened to me in high school. So I think it was inspired, for lack of a better word, by everything that was happening in 2020. It's something that I just needed to get out and get down. And yeah, so, but it's the second nonfiction short story I've ever written. I'm not that brave to write about my experience, but I'm hoping that it's that catalyst that I need to, you know, be a little bit braver and start writing a little bit about the experience, especially of, you know, the Caribbean immigrant experience is unique, and it's a very diverse and very interesting experience. So I'm hoping to maybe add my voice to that a little bit and give it a little bit more attention on the stage of the world and literature.
Right. It's funny because everyone I interview, I think I can relate to the story in a way because you said you read is it the Hummingbird?
No, it's I know why the caged bird sings.
I know the caged bird sings.
Yeah.
So I think when I came also I read a book which was The Death of a Jewish American Princess, and it was a fictional story too, and that made me wanted to write as well. So I got into playwriting, and I wrote a play which went on to produced by the Minister of Intercultural Affairs and stuff like that. But however, I didn't keep up with my writing, but I do like writing, and I embrace, you know, autism in every kind of way. So when I say you made us proud, like I really mean it, that you made us proud. So how did you come up with the topic, the umbrella, under the umbrella?
So Umbrella is actually a story I think I've been writing in my head for a long time. It happened when I was about 15, 16 years old. And I've wanted to write it for a while, but I think something was stopping me. I guess maybe I wasn't ready, or the story wasn't ready to be written. And I think with Black Lives Matter and all of the different experiences and stories we were hearing in the media and social media and the news, I could relate, right? Like you hear someone's story and it's like, oh, right, I remember a similar thing that happened to me. And a lot of that was popping up. And so I started writing like bits and pieces of it down, but I was never really ready to create a nonfiction essay. And I'm part of a writing group here. Well, not here, it's an international writing group. We connect with each other via Zoom and online. And one of the activities that we do is that we give each other writing challenges. And I think around October, November 2020, one of the challenges, write a story about a character that's trespassing. And, Umbrella is about these two, like me and my high school friend trespassing on school property when we shouldn't have been there on the weekend. So when I sat down to write that challenge, that's where Umbrella kind of came out, and it just flowed out of me during that time. So yeah, that's how it came to be. It's just from a writing challenge and me having just bits and pieces of notes like in my phone, and not even on my computer or down on paper. It was usually in like my note app in my phone, and for many years. So yeah.
You said something at the beginning that your grandmother was a brilliant storyteller, and I just want to emphasize that sometimes what we have to realize as immigrants coming to especially North America is that the culture is so different that it's actually, we have like small assets in our hand. I mean, small tools that we can use to go on to different things, and we don't realize how powerful it is. Because there it is, you took your inspiration from your childhood growing up, and now you're converting it into something meaningful to us. So if I have to ask you to sell the umbrella to us, I read a little bit of the thesis, and it's saying that it's actually has a little bit to do with your experience with racism or something like that. So can you sell that part of it to us a little bit?
Like, you want a summary of what it is, or
yes.
Okay, so it's the story is about me when I had just moved to Canada. I think it was 2 or 3 years into Canada. So I came here when I was 10. I'm in high school with one of my best friends, or I'll put friends in quotation because we learned that she's not really a friend in the end, but this is a white girl. We're on the soccer field of our high school, and we're trespassing and watching a soccer game. And it's just, the story is about this friend asking a lot of very inappropriate and inappropriate racist questions, and just how that sparks this confrontation between me, without giving away too much, me and a high school crush at the time. And it's just that conversation around what it means to be Black, and how we're a Black immigrant, first of all, in Canada, how we're perceived, and the little microaggressions that can come out of come out of those experiences with people who've grown up here, specifically this white girl. And I don't want to give away too much. I think it's worth reading it and experiencing the story, but that's essentially what it is. It's just this conversation between me and a white girl, and the microaggression and the little pokes of racism that she's throwing out there as she orchestrates this confrontation between me and a boy at the time.
Yeah, because I read, when I read that little part, I go like, I want to read this story. I want to read the full story. And I'm glad I didn't read the full story before, because I really don't want to give it away as well. So you use the term microaggression, in describing it. And I'm pretty sure all of us, have at one point in time, have experienced that microaggression behavior. What with the microaggression behavior, how does it make you feel, or how did you feel at that time? Was it depressing or motivated? Did you get motivated by it all?
Well, I was pretty young, and I was also, I was just transplanted into a culture that's completely unlike the village culture that I grew up in. Like, I came from Caratal, which is fairly small, and I was plucked up and put down in this place. This Montreal is big compared to what Carroll is. So I was already lost, right? Like it's I didn't really relate to much that was Canadian. I was still trying to find my place, and I was very lost. Like I couldn't fit in. Like I had an accent, I wore my hair differently, I liked different things. The music I listened to were not very, you don't have that much access to it here. So I think the way it made me feel is more like an outsider. It was like I didn't belong. It was microaggression has that way of making you feel like an other, and that's how I remember feeling at the time. I don't think it motivated me because I was going through so much. I grew up with my grandparents. My mom was living here. She had moved here to, start a life for us. So it was just adapting to that, leaving my grandparents behind, and obviously missing them, getting to know my mom, plus being in a high school and having this experience with this white girl who was obviously doing her very best to show that I didn't belong and that I was much different and there was something other about me. So I don't remember being particularly depressed. I think I was confused.
And naive.
Yeah, I was naive, confused, and not sure what it all meant. Like right, it was a new experience, yeah.
Right, because where you're from, and I can see where we're from,
yeah,
we don't really know racism in that form as how in this world here it is exposed. So you're kind of like, I understand you're kind of the in between, like, yeah. Is it the real world? Is it this is how it is, or yeah.
And my grandmother is white. So, for me, like in Carroll, there's so many colors, like, and so many different people. Like there's like all places there, we had our issues. There's issues with colorism, but racism wasn't something that was exposed to until I came here. And this word racism didn't even exist in my vocabulary when I came here. It took this experience and other experiences like it for me to finally see, oh, right, my skin is dark and that makes me different. And that makes me, like almost a threat. It felt like, and not wanted, in a lot of ways. At least that's how I was made to feel. And I knew very quickly that some of the opportunities that were offered to other people weren't going to be there for me. So yeah, I think that's very traumatizing for a child. And it didn't just start in high school. I did 2 years of elementary school here, and it started there. So at 10, 11 years old, to be going through something like that is it's traumatizing. Like it shouldn't happen.
I completely agree with you. So at what age did you realize that, hey, that wasn't so all cool with what was going on?
Yeah, so some people have asked me, why do you keep calling her a friend? And it's within the context of the situation and the experience of Umbrella, I still thought of her as a friend. It took more instances like that and me doing more reading, like reading more books and learning about the Black experience, not just like we were not really exposed to that kind of thing in the Caribbean, right? We're not. I didn't read anything about racism or the Black experience. I learned all of that very quickly when I came here. So I think it took me educating myself, and like some few, not very many, like adults giving me a book or a resource and talking to me about it for me to realize, oh, what she did was very wrong. And obviously I carried it for a long time because even at my age now, it still affected me in 2020 enough for me to write a story about it. So I would say maybe when I was 18 years old is when I really start realizing, okay, yeah, this is a terrible thing that happened. And then from there on, just making sure I educate myself more about how Black people are seen or perceived, and the Black experience and racism and the history of all of it. So yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm happy you put it out in a short story so that others can at least learn from it. I really do hope that people will get it. And do you have a copy of your book there now? You can show, because I don't have a copy of this.
Yeah, it's a short story. It's on the internet. It was published online. So if you want to see, it's on the CBC website. You have to go to the CBC website, and it's they published it there.
Okay, because like I said before, all of us we have experienced those microaggression at certain point in time, microracial aggression, if you want to call it. Like I've had my own, but obviously the interview is not about me, so I'll hold my story. Maybe I'll be able to put my story to pen to paper one day, like you, and
why not?
Story, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's through our stories and our the experiences that we share that are similar, that's how we're gonna, I think, get close. That's how we're gonna connect, right?
Right.
Just writing this story alone, I've had so many people reach out to me and it's like, oh, that happened to me, but they never spoke about it until now. And people of all ages and from all countries, not even just from the Caribbean. I have a man from Poland who actually, a 70-year-old, told my mom this happened to me as well and was in tears because of it. So I think it's important that we put our stories out there wherever you're from and whatever your experience is. I think people need to read these, learn from them, and also it's a way for us to connect. Like I would not have connected with the 70-year-old or anyone else who has spoken to me about this story.
You would not have connected with us. You're not connected with Vincy in the radio.
There you go. Right.
But,
yes.
Just before Steve jumps in, like I just want to say, like, if your story can help one person, it's just worth it, you know. And believe me, it would penetrate through a lot of us, you know, and a lot of future generation or future immigrants to come.
And that alone is like, it's worth it, right? For me, it was always nervous putting a story about yourself out there. It was like, you know, I didn't think it was going to win. So when I put it out there, I was a bit naive about what could happen with this story. When it did win, I did have those moments where it's like, oh, wow, okay, so it won. Now the attention and all of this is something that I'm not comfortable with. But like you said, if it helps just one person or if it just gets the conversation started, I think it's already won in that way. So I'm really happy it's out there now. It's no longer my story; it's our story, and everyone who's willing to share their stories. I'm really happy that it's gotten people comfortable enough to talk about it, even if it's just using my experience to talk about it. Fine, it's doing its job. I'm really happy for that.
All right, I'll let Sip jump in there for a while.
You moved to Canada when you're about 10 years old. Any recollections of St. Vincent and the Grenadines?
Oh, so much. I still consider myself Vincentian 100%. When I talk about home, I talk about Caratal, right? So I remember having a very happy, well, childhoods are very, there's two parts to it, but I do remember the very happy parts. I have very vivid memories of like the breadfruit tree in our yard, which is one of my favorite spots to sit under and watch my grandfather, like, you know, shape metal into cattle trains, and I'm just being there and daydreaming. I was a big daydreamer. I think that's part of the storytelling that came from me. The impressions, the sense of the sea. We live very like one street over from the sea. The food, cooking on the coal pot in the yard versus that's another thing I had to get used to is everybody cook indoors here, right? Because it's cold. So you know, there's so much about St. Vincent. It's such a rich country and so beautiful. I think every story that I write has something about St. Vincent in it. And I do write a lot of stories about St. Vincent, even if they're not, they're nonfiction. I do write a lot about growing up there. So yeah, very happy childhood there. A different childhood, one that I almost yearn for now that I'm an adult and I have to work and, you know, have responsibilities. I remember my childhood and how free we were.
Yeah, because a lot of people I try to connect with through this story. I was feeling so proud that I want to sell it to a lot of Vincentians, and a lot of people couldn't remember. They couldn't trace back your family. So I said, well, okay, that's one of the questions I had to make sure I asked her on Saturday to make sure that everyone from around that area knew exactly where side of Georgetown you're from and your family. But coming back to your story, where did you get the inspiration to put that on paper?
I think it's, like I said, it's because of everything that was happening around Black Lives Matter. I think that just triggered it, right? But I think the bravery to put it on paper was just, it was nagging me for a while. It was just in the back of my head. Anytime I was trying to write anything else, it was there. It was just always there. And I knew because of that, I needed to write it down. So I think it's just this, it was a story that needed to be told. It needed to come out of me because I was carrying it and it was obviously affecting me. And because 2020 was already such a difficult year, I think it was one way for me to release some of that tension, to get something out that was causing, obviously, some conflict in me. I needed to get it done. So I think a lot of it came from just that difficult year of everything that happened with the pandemic and everything that was part because of the pandemic, all of the marches that happened across the world, George Floyd, all of this. So it needed to come out because I was filling up, like there was so much experiences being shared everywhere, and I it was becoming too much and overwhelming for me, so I had to put it down.
When you finished with writing it, did you give anyone to read, or did you submit it to a group for advice?
Yeah, so the writing group that I told you that I mentioned, who gave the challenge about trespassing, I sent it to them. Like we share our stories once they're written, and the feedback was overwhelmingly good. I wanted to change some things about it. At first, I thought that opening line of the story is, "Do you like being Black?" That's the first line of the story. And for me, I was like, okay, is it too aggressive? This was said to me, but is it too aggressive? Should I start a story like this? Is it a good idea to start a story like this? And they were overwhelmingly like positive. They're like, yes, this is perfect the way it is. Don't change anything about it. So yeah, I got a really good reaction from my writing group from the first draft. There were some little tweaks that needed to happen, but I think the story in its current form is very, very close to what the first draft was, because I was told not to change it.
That would be my next question. That opening line. So when you submitted it, did you submit it in a sense so just to get it off your mind, or did you submit it in a say that, okay, one of these days I'm gonna win a prize? What was your main intention of submitting it?
I think I needed to get it off my mind and out there into the world. So it was just to get it. It was just to get it out there. I did not think it was gonna win. Like I said, a first draft of a story in my mind is not a story that you submit thinking you're going to win anything. And it's not the first time I've submitted to the CBC Nonfiction Prize. I just also wanted to get in the practice of getting my work out there, because as a writer, we should get our stories in front of readers, even if they don't win, right? Like it could take with just one person reading your story, and that story does something for them. So I just wanted to get it out there. I had no idea that it was going to win. I did not think it was a good enough story to win when I sent it in. Like there are amazing writers that submit to this prize, and I didn't think I was up there with them. So it's just to get it out there, just to get it in the world and off of my kind of off of my mind in a way.
What was it feeling like when you got that telephone call or that email say that you are the winner?
I was asleep when they called me, so they kept calling, and then I woke up and I called them back. And when she told me, I was stunned. They wanted a reaction from me, and I was speechless. I needed to sit down. I needed to get water. I couldn't believe it. I thought it was a mistake. I even asked her, I'm like, are you sure? Like, like I said my name, I said the name of the story. I'm like, can you check? Like, is this for real? So yeah, I think I was stunned, and I was in disbelief. I did not think, I knew when I was longlisted, when I made the top 28, but and I was really happy with that. Just making the long list was like gold. I'm so happy that this is something that has happened for me, but to win it, I was overwhelmed. And for a long time, I was still walking around with this, like on eggshells, almost afraid that if I celebrate, if I was too excited about it, that it might turn out to be a dream. Like maybe they made a mistake. So I was in disbelief. I couldn't, and I still am in a way, like I still can't believe it happened. It's just this big thing to happen to me, and especially when I wasn't expecting a prize. I wasn't expecting even to place in the long list. So yeah, disbelief.
According to you, you have more to come. What are your inspiration in writing those ones to come? Are they going to be along the same line, dealing with Caribbean people and their experience coming to this side of the world?
Yeah, so I think the collection of short stories that I'm working on right now, it's going to be dealing with the Caribbean immigrant experience. But I also want to write about the childhood experience, especially these children that grew up in the Caribbean with grandparents while their parents leave to go overseas to create better opportunities for them. So I'm doing I think a two-parter, one where it's a Caribbean immigrant experience, and then another part where it's the experience of childhood in the Caribbean, kind of that in-between phase where you're waiting for your parents to come and get you, which is something I went through. So yeah, just a collection of short stories I'm currently working on. I don't know when it's going to be ready, but the hope is that within the next year we can see something from me, some kind of a collection from me.
When I read it, I found it somewhere on the internet, and I was very warmly when I read it as a Vincentian. The outline was a Vincentian one, this price. So I spoke to Moulton and I said, do you know this person? This person is from St. Vincent. He lives in Montreal. So he said, no. I said, okay, I have to do some research. It took me a while to find you.
Yeah.
Finally, I found you through the Vincentian newspaper.